The stars looked different from the bridge of the UES horizon. Captain James Walker stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the massive space station grew larger in the view screen. After 50 years of faster-than-light research, humanity had finally done it. They had reached the heart of galactic civilization. Alpha Station hung in space like a giant silver snowflake, its 8 arms stretching out for miles. Hundreds of ships from different alien civilizations moved around it in careful patterns. The sight made James's throat tight with emotion. This was humanity's big moment. "Sir, we're receiving docking instructions," Lieutenant Rogers said from her control station. Her voice trembled slightly with excitement. James nodded. "Take us in, steady as she goes." He turned to look at the rest of his bridge crew. They were the best Earth had to offer. Scientists, diplomats, and soldiers chosen to represent humanity. All of them wore their dark blue uniforms with pride, golden Earth insignias gleaming on their chests. The horizon moved slowly toward its assigned dock. Through the view screen, James could see alien beings watching from the station's windows. Some had multiple arms, others had scaled skin that sparkled in the starlight, and a few seemed to float rather than walk. "Quite a welcome party," Dr. Miller said, stepping up beside him. The quantum physicist's eyes were bright with curiosity. "I can't wait to exchange ideas with their scientists." The docking went smoothly. When the airlock doors opened, James led his team into the station. The air smelled clean but slightly sweet, and the gravity was just a tiny bit lighter than Earth's. A group of tall, official-looking aliens waited for them. "Welcome to Alpha Station," said one of them, speaking perfect English through a translator device. "I am First Speaker Trell. The Galactic Council awaits you." The walk to the council chambers was like a parade through an alien zoo. Creatures of all shapes and sizes lined the corridors, watching the humans pass. Some pointed and whispered. Others just stared. The council chamber itself was enormous. Thousands of seats rose up in circular tiers, filled with representatives from hundreds of species. At the center was a raised platform where the High Council sat. 12 beings who ruled over the galaxy's unified civilizations. James stepped forward to the speaker's position. The speech he had prepared felt heavy in his pocket. This was the moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries. But something felt wrong. The High Council members were looking at each other strangely. Some were making quick hand signals. Others were tapping on small devices. The whispers in the chamber grew louder. First Speaker Trell stepped up to address the gathering. "Honorable Council, we have observed these humans carefully since they achieved faster-than-light travel. Our studies show they are." He paused, his expression dark, dangerous. James felt his heart stop. "What?" "Their history is full of war," Trell continued. "They are aggressive, unpredictable. They advance too quickly. They cannot be trusted with galactic technology." "That's not fair," Dr. Miller shouted. "We've changed. We've unified our planet. We come in peace." But the council wasn't listening. One by one, they were standing, raising their hands in what was clearly a vote. "The council has decided," Trell announced. "Earth will be quarantined for the safety of all. An energy barrier will be placed around their solar system. No ships will be allowed in or out." "You can't do this," James protested, but security forces were already moving toward them. "Return to your ship immediately," Trell ordered. "The barrier will be activated in 1 hour. If you are not back in your system by then, you will be trapped outside forever." As they were escorted back to the horizon, James saw the pity in some alien eyes, the fear in others, and the satisfaction in a few. His hand shook with anger as he ordered the emergency departure. From the bridge, they watched as massive ships moved into position around their solar system. Energy beams shot out, forming a web that would become their prison. "They'll regret this," Dr. Miller said quietly, her eyes fixed on a small device in her hand. "They have no idea what they've just done." James looked at her sharply. There was something in her voice, a certainty that made him lean closer. "What do you mean?" She smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. Let's just say I learned some very interesting things about their barrier technology during our brief visit, things they don't think we're capable of understanding. James felt a spark of hope. Maybe this wasn't the end of humanity's story in the galaxy. Maybe it was just the beginning. 3 months after the quarantine, Dr. Anna Miller's laboratory hummed with energy deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Holographic displays filled the air with complex equations and barrier field patterns. She hadn't slept properly in days, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "Run the simulation again," she ordered her computer. The massive screen in front of her lit up, showing the Council's barrier surrounding Earth's solar system. As she watched, her modified energy pulse passed right through it like a ghost through a wall. The door opened, and Admiral Thomas Reed walked in. His uniform was crisp, but the dark circles under his eyes showed he'd been working as hard as she had. "Please tell me you have good news," he said, looking at the simulation. "The public is getting restless. Being trapped in our own solar system isn't sitting well with anyone." Anna smiled and pointed to her calculations. "The Council made a big mistake, Admiral. They think we're primitive, so they used their basic barrier technology. But there's a flaw in it, one they've never noticed because they stopped innovating centuries ago." She pressed a button, and a new hologram appeared. "See this frequency pattern? Their barrier works by creating a wall of energy that blocks all known forms of space travel. But they never considered that someone might find a way to slip between the frequencies." The Admiral leaned closer, his face lighting up with understanding. "Like walking between raindrops." "Exactly." Anna grabbed her tablet and showed him more data. "We can modify our ship's engines to emit a counter-frequency. It won't break their barrier. That would alert them. Instead, we'll simply slide right through it. They'll never know we're gone." Admiral Reed sat down heavily in a nearby chair. "How soon can we test this?" "I need 2 weeks to modify a small scout ship. The trick will be keeping the energy signature low enough that their sensors don't detect it." The Admiral nodded and pulled out his secure communicator. "I'm calling an Operation Breakthrough. We've got a lot of work to do." Over the next month, a secret facility was built in an asteroid belt. Workers were told it was a mining operation, but inside, engineers worked day and night to modify Earth's newest ships with Dr. Miller's technology. The first test came on a quiet Tuesday. A small scout ship named Swift crept toward the barrier, its crew nervous but determined. Captain Lisa Moore sat in the pilot's seat, her hand steady on the controls despite her racing heart. "All systems ready," her engineer reported. "Counter-frequency generator is stable." Lisa took a deep breath. Beginning approach. The barrier loomed ahead of them, a shimmering wall of blue energy that had imprisoned humanity for 3 months. As they got closer, their modified engines began to hum with Anna's counter-frequency. "Contact in 5 seconds," Lisa announced. 4, 3, 2, 1. There was no sensation at all. One moment they were inside the barrier, the next they were through. The engineer checked their instruments frantically. No alarms, no response from the barrier. "We did it." Lisa allowed herself a small smile as she turned the ship around. "Setting course for home. Let's not push our luck on the first run." Back on Earth, the success of the test set bigger plans in motion. Admiral Reed gathered his most trusted commanders in a secure underground room. "The Council thinks they've caged us," he said, standing before a star map. "They expect us to sit quietly in our prison until we learn to behave. Instead, we're going to use this advantage to teach them a lesson about underestimating humanity." He pointed to various spots on the map. "We've already identified key trading routes, military installations, and communication hubs. Thanks to Dr. Miller's breakthrough, we can strike anywhere, anytime, and they'll never see us coming." "But sir," one commander asked, "won't direct attacks just prove them right about us being violent?" Admiral Reed smiled grimly. "Who said anything about direct attacks? We're going to be much smarter than that. They think we're simple brutes, so let's show them how creative humanity can really be." In her lab, Dr. Miller was already working on the next phase. On her screen, schematics for a new device took shape, something that would turn the Council's own technology against them. "They wanted to keep us in a cage," she muttered as she worked. "They never stopped to think that sometimes the most dangerous animal is the one you think you've safely locked away." Marcus Green had been a cargo pilot before the quarantine. Now he sat in a hidden bar on a dusty moon at the edge of Council space, his modified scout ship carefully disguised as a local trader's vessel. The bar's other customers, a mix of various alien species, kept giving him suspicious looks. "You're either brave or stupid to come here, human," the bartender said quietly. He was a tall being with gray skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. "The Council has eyes everywhere." Marcus took a slow sip of his drink. Funny thing about the Council's eyes, they only see what they expect to see. Right now, their sensors show a regular trading ship, and their watchers see just another gray market pilot. The bartender's skin rippled with interest. "You found a way through the barrier." "Maybe." Marcus leaned forward. "More importantly, I hear you and your friends aren't too happy with the Council either." The alien's skin darkened. "The Council claims to represent all spacefaring races, but some of us know better. My people were forced to accept unfair trading terms. Others had their technology restricted. Many live on worlds the Council deemed too primitive to join galactic society. What if I told you Earth wants to change that?" The conversation that followed lasted hours. By the end, Marcus had made his first contact for what would become the Shadow Alliance. Back on Earth, Admiral Reed reviewed Marcus's report with growing satisfaction. "How many species have shown interest?" he asked over the secure quantum channel. "7 so far," Marcus replied, his hologram flickering slightly. The Drift Runners were hit hard by Council trade restrictions. The Storm Dancers had their planetary defense systems forcibly deactivated. The Crystal Mines were labeled potentially unstable and confined to their home system. "They're all ready to help." Dr. Miller, who had been quietly listening, stepped forward. "Are any of them advanced enough to understand the barrier technology?" Marcus grinned. "The Crystal Mines already figured out the flaw you found, but they never had the resources to exploit it. They're willing to share other technical weaknesses they've discovered." Over the next few weeks, Earth's hidden fleet became a hub of secret activity. Ships slipped through the barrier carrying messages, technology, and hope to other oppressed species. The Shadow Alliance grew stronger each day. In her lab, Dr. Miller worked with crystal mine scientists, their crystalline bodies glowing with excitement as they shared knowledge. "The Council's power relies on controlling access to advanced technology," one of them explained. "But they've grown lazy, using the same systems for centuries." The Storm Dancers taught Earth's pilots how to hide in solar winds and magnetic fields. The Drift Runners shared secret trade routes and communication channels. Each species brought its own skills and secrets to the Alliance. One day, Marcus found himself in another secret meeting, this time with representatives from 12 different species. They gathered in an abandoned mining station, hidden from Council sensors by technology from 3 different worlds. "The Council thinks they're maintaining order," a Storm Dancer said, her cloud-like body swirling with anger. "But they're really just protecting their own power. They call us primitive," a crystal mind added, lights pulsing through its faceted form. "Yet they fear what we might achieve if given the chance." Marcus stood up, looking at the gathered allies. "That's exactly why we need to work together. Earth has the means to strike back, but we need your help to make it count. We don't just want revenge. We want to change the galaxy." The plan they developed was bold. Each species would play to its strengths. The Crystal Mines would help crack Council security systems. The Drift Runners would disrupt trade routes. The Storm Dancers would provide cover and distractions. As Marcus flew back to Earth with the final agreements, he smiled at how wrong the Council had been. They thought they were protecting the galaxy from humanity. Instead, they had given humanity a reason to unite the overlooked, the restricted, and the oppressed. In their arrogance, the Council had created exactly what they feared most, a force strong enough to challenge their power. And they didn't even know it existed yet. Commander Diana West stood on the bridge of the stealth ship Night Shadow, watching as a massive Council trade fleet moved through the shipping lanes ahead. Her ship, along with 5 others, had been waiting in the magnetic field of a nearby gas giant for 3 days. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer whispered, though there was no need to be quiet in space. Everyone was feeling the tension of their first major operation. Diana nodded. "Remember the plan. No direct attacks. No casualties. We're here to create chaos, not casualties." The Council ships were carrying rare minerals from their core worlds to the outer colonies. They moved with the confidence of those who believed they had no enemies to fear. "Begin Operation Ghost," Diana ordered. The 6 Earth ships slipped out of their hiding place, their modified engines completely silent to Council sensors. They moved like shadows between the huge cargo ships, using technology from their Storm Dancer allies to ride the solar winds undetected. "Crystal mine devices activated," reported the science officer. Small devices, looking like simple pieces of space debris, attached themselves to the Council ships' hulls. Inside each one was a quantum computer designed by the crystal mines. They would slowly, carefully rewrite the ship's navigation data. "Drift runner protocols in place," another officer called out. Diana smiled. The drift runners had taught them how to hack trade manifests and shipping records. By the time these ships reached their destinations, their cargo would seem to have vanished into thin air, with records showing it had never existed in the first place. Phase 1 complete. All ships withdraw. The Earth fleet vanished back into the gas giant's magnetic field, leaving no trace of their presence. Within hours, they were back through the barrier and safe in Earth's solar system. 3 days later, Diana sat in Admiral Reed's office, watching reports flood in from their Shadow Alliance contacts. "The Council is in chaos," she reported. 5 major shipping companies are accusing each other of theft. 3 colony worlds are demanding investigations into missing shipments. The Council's trade authority is facing accusations of corruption. Admiral Reed nodded approvingly. "And no one suspects Earth's involvement?" "No, sir. The crystal mines technology is perfect. As far as anyone can tell, the cargo simply disappeared. Some Council members are even suggesting it's proof that their trading systems need to be even more restrictive." "Excellent." The Admiral pulled up a holographic map. "Time for Phase 2. What's the status of the military supply chains?" Diana touched a control, highlighting several routes. "Our allies have identified the supply lines for the Council's main defense fleet. They're even more vulnerable than the trade ships. They don't expect anyone to dare attack military targets." "They still don't," Reed corrected with a smile. "We're not attacking. We're just rearranging things a bit." Over the next month, Earth ships struck like ghosts throughout Council space. Military supplies were redirected to civilian ports. Emergency beacons activated for no reason. Communication systems developed mysterious delays. In the Council chambers on Alpha Station, tempers were rising. Diana watched through hidden cameras installed by their allies as another angry session began. "This is unprecedented," shouted a Council member, their tentacles waving in agitation. "Our most secure systems are failing. Our trade networks are in disarray. Someone must be responsible." "Impossible," First Speaker Trell responded coldly. "Our technology is superior to all others. These are merely systems showing their age. We will increase security and strengthen our control." From her hidden observation post, Diana sent a message back to Earth. "They still don't suspect us. They're too proud to imagine that their primitive humans could be responsible." The response from Admiral Reed was brief. "Good. Pride comes before a fall. Proceed with Phase 3. Back on her ship, Diana gathered her crew. "The Council thinks they're having bad luck. They think their systems are just getting old. They think everything is still under their control." She looked at the determined faces around her. Let's show them how wrong they are. Phase 3 begins tonight. As the night shadows slipped once again through the barrier, Diana thought about how the Council's greatest weakness wasn't their technology or their systems. It was their absolute certainty that they were superior to everyone else. They were about to learn just how costly that certainty could be. Director Laura Stone sat in her dimly lit office at Earth Intelligence Headquarters, watching dozens of holographic screens showing Council communications. After months of chaos caused by Commander West's operations, the Council was starting to crack from within. "Send the first package," she ordered. Her team began transmitting data through the secret channels their Shadow Alliance had built. Within minutes, several Council members received anonymous messages. Each contained proof of corruption at the highest levels of Council leadership. "Package delivered," her assistant reported. "Now we wait." They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, the Council chambers erupted into chaos. Laura watched through hidden cameras as one of the senior Council members, Representative Korn, stood up in the middle of a session. "First Speaker Trell has been lying to us all." Korn's voice boomed through the chamber. "I have proof that he and his allies have been suppressing technological advancement in the outer systems to maintain their power." Trell's face darkened with rage. "How dare you make such accusations? Where did you get this false information?" But more Council members were standing now. The Storm Dancers representative, speaking for the first time in years, raised their voice. "We have records of military ships threatening our research stations." A Crystal Mind member's crystalline form pulsed with angry light. "Our scientists were arrested for studying quantum mechanics that the Council claimed was too dangerous." Laura smiled as she watched the Council's perfect unity shatter. On another screen, she could see riots breaking out on various Council worlds as more information leaked to the public. "Second package ready," her assistant said. "Send it." This time, the data went to military commanders throughout Council space. It showed how the Council had been manipulating patrol routes to harass certain species while leaving others completely unprotected. In the Council chambers, the arguments were getting worse. Trell tried to call for order, but his voice was drowned out by angry shouts. The barrier around Earth was never about safety. Someone yelled. It was about fear. Fear that humans would advance too quickly, just like they feared the Crystal Mines. And the Storm Dancers. Laura opened a secure channel to Admiral Reed. "The Council is fighting among themselves. Their own security forces are starting to question orders. It's time for Phase 4. Reed's hologram nodded. "Commander West's fleet is in position. Dr. Miller's new device is ready. Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back." "They brought this on themselves," Laura said firmly. "They thought they could cage us and forget about us. Instead, we've shown them what happens when you underestimate those you call primitive." She looked at another screen showing Earth's fleet hiding near Alpha Station, completely invisible to Council sensors. The ships were armed not with weapons, but with proof. Proof of centuries of Council corruption, manipulation, and oppression. The Council built their power on secrets and lies, Laura told her team. They forgot that secrets can be discovered and lies can be exposed. Just then, First Speaker Trell made his biggest mistake. In front of the entire Council, he ordered security forces to arrest the protesting members. "This is exactly why we need stronger control," he shouted. "This chaos proves that too much freedom leads to disorder." Laura grinned. "He's given us the perfect opening. Send the final package." This time, the data went everywhere, to every Council world, every space station, every ship in Council space. It showed the full truth of how the Council maintained its power, through fear, suppression, and lies. As riots broke out across Council space and more members turned against their leaders, Laura sent one final message to Admiral Reed. "The Council is collapsing from within. They're too busy fighting each other to see what's coming next." "Excellent," Reed replied. "Tell Commander West she has permission to begin the final phase. It's time to show the Council exactly who they're dealing with." Laura looked at the chaos spreading across council space with satisfaction. The council had thought their biggest threat would come from human weapons. Instead, their perfect order was being destroyed by something far more powerful: the truth. The council chambers were in complete disorder. Security forces struggled to control angry representatives who were shouting and fighting among themselves. First Speaker Trell stood at his podium, trying to restore order, when every light in the chamber suddenly went dark. When the lights came back on, Admiral Thomas Reed stood in the center of the room. Impossible. Trell gasped. The chamber went silent. How did you get through the barrier? Reed smiled coldly. The same way we've been moving through your space for months, watching you, gathering evidence, and showing everyone just how weak your perfect system really is. Screens appeared around the chamber, showing footage of Earth ships slipping past Council defenses, working with other species, and spreading the truth about Council corruption. The trade disruptions, the missing supplies, the information leaks. Trell's face showed dawning horror. That was all you. We had help. Reed gestured to the chamber doors. They opened to reveal representatives from the Shadow Alliance, crystal minds glowing with determination, storm dancers swirling with barely contained energy, and drift runners standing proud. Everything you feared about us was true, Reed continued, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. We are dangerous. We do advance quickly, and we absolutely refuse to accept oppression, of ourselves or of others. Dr. Miller walked in next, carrying a small device. Your barrier technology was impressive. A century ago, but like everything else about the Council, it stopped evolving. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never looked for ways to improve. The Council members watched in shock as she activated the device. On the huge screens, they could see the barrier around Earth's solar system flickering and changing color. We could have destroyed it months ago, she explained. But we had a better idea. We decided to show everyone exactly what the Council really is, not wise leaders protecting the galaxy, but frightened tyrants desperately clinging to power. More screens activated, showing riots and protests breaking out across Council space. Military ships were standing down, refusing orders to suppress the uprisings. The Council's perfect order was falling apart in real time. You have two choices, Admiral Reed announced. Step down willingly and help us create a new system, one that's fair to all species. Or, he paused, letting the tension build, we can share the really interesting files we found in your personal databases. Trell's face went pale. You're bluffing. Our security was cracked by the crystal mines 3 days ago. Dr. Miller interrupted. Would you like me to read your private messages about the primitive species you've been exploiting? Or maybe the orders to secretly sabotage developing civilizations? One by one, Council members began backing away from Trell. Some were already calling for his resignation. Others were quickly deleting files from their devices. This is your last warning, Reed said firmly. Earth and the Shadow Alliance are taking control. You can either help build something better, or you can be remembered as the tyrants who had to be overthrown. You'll destroy everything, Trell shouted. Without the Council's control, there will be chaos. No, Reed corrected him. Without the Council's oppression, there will be progress. All these species you look down on, all the civilizations you held back, they're ready to build something new, something better. He turned to address the whole chamber. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Commander West's fleet is in position around every major Council installation. Dr. Miller's device can shut down your defensive systems with a single command. And Director Stone has her finger on the button that will release every secret you've ever tried to hide. The chamber erupted in discussion. More and more Council members were stepping away from their leaders, seeing the inevitable end of their old order. Trell looked around desperately, but found no support. His perfect system, built on lies and fear, was crumbling around him. Reed checked his watch. You have 1 hour to decide. Choose wisely. The countdown had begun. The hour was almost up. Admiral Reed stood calmly in the council chambers, while Commander West's fleet held position around every major council installation. Through the giant windows, they could see Earth ships appearing everywhere, dropping their stealth fields to reveal just how completely they had surrounded the council's seat of power. First Speaker Trell's time had run out, and he knew it. "You've already lost." Diana's voice came through the chamber speakers. "Our ships are in position. The crystal mines have control of your defense networks. The storm dancers are ready to disable your communications. The drift runners have locked down your escape routes." Dr. Miller stepped forward, holding up her device, and with one button press, we can shut down every piece of council technology in this sector. Your choice, Trell. Surrender or face the consequences. The chamber had divided. Most council members had moved away from their former leaders, seeing the inevitable change coming. Only Trell and his closest allies remained defiant. "You'll regret this," Trell snarled. "The galaxy needs our guidance. Without us, there will be." He never finished his sentence. At that moment, every screen in the chamber lit up with new information, proof of even worse council crimes, secret orders for assassinations, and plans to deliberately hold back medical technology from lesser species. Laura Stone's face appeared on the main screen. "That's just the beginning, Trell. Should I show them what's in the restricted files?" Finally, Trell's shoulders slumped in defeat. "Very well. The Council surrenders." Admiral Reed didn't smile. This wasn't about victory. It was about justice. "Security teams, take them into custody. They'll face trial for their crimes." As Council security forces, now loyal to the Shadow Alliance, led Trell and his allies away, Reed addressed the remaining council members. "This is your chance to help build something better. The true alliance of equals, not a pyramid of power with you at the top." The next few hours were busy. Earth ships maintained their positions while storm dancers swept the station for hidden weapons. Crystal mines began dismantling the Council's corrupt computer systems. Drift runners coordinated with ships bringing representatives from previously excluded species. Dr. Miller walked through the Council's technology center, shaking her head at what she found. They stopped innovating decades ago. They just used their power to keep everyone else from moving forward. In the main chamber, now transformed into a conference room, Admiral Reed met with representatives from over 50 species. Some had been council members, others had been kept out. But now, they all sat as equals. "The first order of business," Reed announced, "is to dismantle the barriers. No more imprisoned species, no more quarantine of developing civilizations. Every world has the right to grow at its own pace." Marcus Green, speaking for the Drift Runners, stood up. "We need new trade laws. Fair ones. No more economic oppression." A crystal mind glowed in agreement. "And all technology should be shared. Progress belongs to everyone." Diana watched from her ship as the changes began. The barrier around Earth's solar system flickered and died. Similar barriers around other systems, ones humanity hadn't even known about, also fell. Laura Stone's team began releasing all the Council's stored knowledge to every species. Centuries of hoarded science and technology were finally shared freely. In the end, it wasn't weapons or violence that brought down the Council. It was the very things they had tried to suppress: innovation, cooperation, and the free flow of information. 1 month later, Admiral Reed stood before the newly formed Galactic Assembly. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the chamber. Formerly restricted races now sat alongside their once oppressors as equals. "The Council thought humanity was dangerous because we refused to accept their control," he told the gathering. "They were right. We are dangerous to tyrants and oppressors, but to friends and allies, we are something else entirely. We are a reminder that no power lasts forever, and no species has the right to rule over others." As he looked out at the diverse gathering, Reed smiled. The Council had tried to imprison humanity, but instead they had given them the perfect opportunity to change the galaxy for the better. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation, and what they had created here would last for generations to come.